What is going on, Marvel fans? I'm your host, as always, K-Mac Time, and today it'll be a good day to look over some Marvel things going on in the Marvel Universe. Now, it is a great time for Marvel and its characters. Logan just came out recently, and it was insanely good. Of course, it did have the Deadpool 2 teaser trailer, and it's on the internet now. You can look it up if you guys have not seen it. Please go do that right now, because we're talking about that exclusively in this video. The teaser goes on to show an elderly man who appears to be in New York City being robbed and eventually murdered, all because Deadpool took too long to change into his suit. It's a pretty humorous and funny trailer. I thought it was hilarious, and it does the typical Deadpool fashion. As we all know, Marvel loves to hide things in the subtle details, and there's no shortage of Easter eggs in the trailer. There's actually quite a few of them, and they're easy to miss if you don't pay attention. So I'm going to go over a few of those, and then I get into a theory that I have about why some of them are there. But first off here, looking at the graffiti on the walls. Of course, there's this one on the phone booth that says Nathan Summers is coming, which of course is Nathan Summers is Cable's, the character Cable's real name. So of course we didn't expect to see him as the main villain, but we already really knew that pretty much almost all but confirmed at this point that Cable was going to be in the movie. But that pretty much sums that up, and like that's basically 100% guaranteed he's going to be in the movie. Then of course there's this Firefly poster in the background, and for those of you who don't know what Firefly is, it was a semi-popular TV show on Fox in the early 2000s. I think it ran from 2002 to 2005, somewhere around that era. But it just so happens that the star of Deadpool, Morena Barkeen, is actually also in that show. So she played both characters in Deadpool and in Firefly. So it may just be a nod to her, kind of like a little Easter egg about her background there. But I do have a better theory on that, and I'll get to that in just a minute. And finally, a piece of graffiti that I want to touch on, the last one I want to touch on, is this one that says, Oogie was here. And I actually looked it up, and Oogie is an actual Marvel character, a very, very obscure Marvel character. Not too much on him. He doesn't get too much attention. But if they're looking for cheaper characters to get into the movie, I'm not sure who owns the rights to Oogie. I know there's this whole thing going on between Marvel and Fox about rights to what characters and stuff like that. So they might be trying to use cheaper characters, ones that don't really have copyrights, or it might just be a troll, or it might just be like an obscure reference. Like they like to do that, things like that in Deadpool, make references to obscure things in the Marvel Universe. So it might just be that. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. But what I want to get into here, the thing that really gets my attention here, is there's a theory floating around the internet that the elderly man who was killed in the trailer was actually Uncle Ben from SpiderMan. And I know that seems impossible, but hear me out on this first. We both know that Spider-Man and Deadpool are both Marvel characters, so we're off to a good start there. In fact, in the Deadpool comic series, they've even met each other on a handful of occasions, so it stands to reason that they are in the same universe at the very least. We also know that Uncle Ben was killed in New York City. Well, if you take a look at the license plates on the cars we see in the Deadpool 2 trailer, they are clearly New York plates. So that lines up pretty well there as well. And of course, we all know that Uncle Ben was robbed and murdered in a very similar fashion to the one we saw happen in the trailer. So everything seems to fit extremely well except for one thing. The timeline. Deadpool seems to be set in the present time, and if that's the case, then Uncle Ben would have been murdered almost 15 to 20 years ago. But this is where it gets interesting. So we have confirmed that Cable is the villain in the next movie. We also know that he is infamous for time travel. It's a big part of his character. He time travels to the future, where he's actually raised in the future, then he returns to the present. So we know that he's able to do some form of time traveling. So, what if Deadpool 2 actually takes place, at least somewhat, in the past, say around the year 2002? Now, circle back to the Firefly poster that was on the wall in the trailer. Firefly would have still been on the air in 2002, so it makes sense that this poster was there advertising for a show that's still on the air. And that is around the exact time that Uncle Ben was robbed and murdered in New York City. Also, fits this perfectly. So this timeline we're kind of building here, they kind of time travel back to 2002. So the Firefly poster fits. That fits. Then Uncle Ben gets murdered around that same time. That fits perfectly. And lastly, not to mention, like I said, the phone booth. There's no phone booths in present day New York City. I promise you, they're no longer a thing. But if you flash back to 2002, there's probably still a handful of them around, as not everyone back then had a cell phone. There's kind of a new emerging technology with cell phones were starting to get really popular around that time, but phone booths were still a thing. So it would make sense why that phone booth was there in 2002 but not in present day. So everything kind of stacks together to fit that cable somehow got them into the distant, or not so distant past, the 2000-2002 era, and that it actually is Uncle Ben being murdered in that alley. And it kind of fits into this whole thing of Deadpool having these Easter eggs. And if so, if this actually is true, this is one of the biggest Easter eggs that I've ever seen in any series, let alone Marvel. But we all know that Deadpool is really big on having these wacky out there Easter eggs, these kind of funny moments, and this one kind of adds to it. And one last thing I forgot to mention is it could be like a typical tongue-in-cheek nod that one of the last things that we see in the trailer is after the man is killed and Deadpool is too late, he goes over and looks through his groceries, and what does he see? He starts to eat a tub of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, the Garcia ice cream, Cherry Garcia ice cream from Ben and Jerry's. That might also be a subtle hint, a wink and a nod kind of thing about it actually being Uncle Ben. But that's all speculation, of course. Personally, I think it makes a ton of sense, especially knowing that Deadpool is known for this typical out-of-the-box Easter egg type stuff, and I really would like to think that this is something that they would do. Adds a whole new layer of depth to it, and it makes it really kind of a cool thing, makes you think. So maybe Marvel's up to something, maybe not. Maybe we're just kind of grasping at straws here. We'll have to wait and see. That's just my opinion on that. But I would love to hear your guys' opinions and thoughts on this down in the comment section. Do you think it's Uncle Ben? What do you guys think it is? Do you think it's all kind of fits up? Would love to hear about that all in the comment section. Make sure you guys hit that like button as well. It really helps out my channel if you guys hit that like button. I'm trying to shoot for 500 likes. Really appreciate if you guys take a second to do that. Also, subscribe for more videos like this in your sub box. But until next time, guys, remember, it's always K-Mac time somewhere. Till then, take it easy and peace out.
Ninja.